Hey kids, weekly short with Blind Spiral here. Going to do it in a bit of a different format than we usually do, but let's go ahead and get right to it. Let's start with our matchups for next week. So I felt like there wasn't a whole bunch to talk about in the matchups in the game of the week, unless of course you're in the Division of Death. And so we're starting this way. We'll do a really deep dive in the playoff picture before talking about the obscure rules. So starting with the implications against the Liquidators, really just a waiting game for the implications to get to the Toilet Bowl at 1-23, by far the worst season we've seen in our league so far. Liquidators at 13-11, a fringe playoff team. They need to pick up a win here against the implications, which they should. They really need to go 2-0 against the median over the week. We've seen some inconsistency from the Liquidators. This will be a big week for them to make sure that they can get the 6th seed in the playoffs as it's still up for grabs. Ticket to Ride against the Seawards, very similar story. Ticket to Ride has officially locked up the division and secured their spot in the playoffs as a number 2 or 3 seed. Seaward still looking feisty as a potential team for extra pick versus Toilet Bowl. We'll have to see who comes out of the game on that one. Cup runneth over, and Webster Tigers, again, Cup runneth over, locked into the Toilet Bowl, so they know we're going for them. The Tigers, though, are officially out of the playoff run. Like, they're hanging on by a thread. The 6th seed is still a possibility for them if they go 4-0. And then we've got Flynn and Chase go 0-4, so it is possible. But Morgan really looking at the extra pick bracket here, needs a strong win. Should have one over, Cup runneth over. But next week's game for them is really more important and more exciting. Then we've got Project Badass against Justin's Deli, trying to play some spoiler for the division mate for the Deli, who's locked their spot in as winning the division, to see if they can knock them out of the bye spot, as Project coming on strong recently with the name change there, as his team does look strong heading into the the Toilet Bowl bracket. Maybe the new favorite for 101. Flynn against the Inaugurals, heavyweight battle that wasn't always won, as Flynn is looking strong. Hopefully, really the other team in the contention for that 6th seed spot, going against the Inaugurals, who had a good game last week, and then Brown Out against the Pandas. That's our game of the week this week, as both these teams are just stacked top to bottom, really, when you look at their players. Barkley obviously doing things. Mahomes looks alive, but you've got Lamar Jackson, Josh Jacobs, who just ran over everybody last week. We'll have to see if the Thanksgiving game's impactful at all. Juwan Jennings has been doing very recently. Kittle, the number 1 tight end in fantasy. Hawkinson's looked strong since he's gotten back. It really is an absolute disaster for both of these teams going against one another, and probably a playoff preview. So let's take a look at what the playoffs are. I should make myself smaller. You guys don't want to see me. You guys want to see this. So if the season ended today, we've got 5 teams that have locked their spot in the playoffs. And that is Brown Out, Ticket to Ride, Kung Fu Pandas, Justin's Deli, and the Inaugural. So Ticket to Ride and Justin's Deli have clinched their division. Brown Out has not clinched the division yet, technically, but it is as close as it can get. Where it gets really fuzzy is for these last couple weeks is you really want to watch the bottom and the top of each bracket. So what do I mean by that? There is a world where the Seawards or Project Badass get out of the Toilet Bowl and they make it into the extra pick bracket instead and knock the Webster Tigers into the Toilet Bowl bracket. There's a possibility the Liquidators and Flynn switch spots. There's a possibility that Morgan, as the Webster Tigers, make it into the playoffs. There's a possibility that it continues to get fuzzier as we go. So a lot of games to watch this week. Here's what we know for sure. It looks like it's going to be a number 1 seed for Brown Out. It looks like it depends on how these next matchups go for Ticket to Ride and Justin Deli for who ends up as 2-3. 4-5 pretty much locked up for Cam and Unicorn. Could alter slightly if they can manage to go 4-0 of these next couple weeks and take the number 1 seed from Brown Out, but the chances of that seem really unlikely to me. Liquidators, Flynn, win like Flynn, really arguing for that last spot. Chase has kind of gone all in. Flynn saying it's not his year. Do we see Chase maybe buy a bit from Flynn at the deadline to make that happen? We'll see. Your obscure rule of the week is an interesting one. So any player that is cut after December 1st, their entire contract is dead cap. Doesn't matter if they were $1 or $3 or $5. They are locked onto your roster. Unless you cut them, then you have the roster spot, but you're still paying them that money. So be cautious making any cuts after December 1st. In addition, the trade deadline December 1st. So Saturday night, November 30th, we'll be doing a hangout for the trade deadline if anybody's interested in making some last-minute trades. Good luck in the games this week, guys. We'll talk to you soon.